I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Most Haunted City on Earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And I'm JT Timmons.
Oh, I forgot you were going to jump in there, JT.
Oh, I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in.
And with his own name, I feel awkward.
I do too.
Unsettled somehow.
I know, right?
Yeah. Just seeing on our side, I don't know what kind of view you're getting of JT right now, but we're just getting JT chest. So
Chest?
yeah, it's just your chest.
What are you talking?
Your laptop.
Oh, my laptop.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, heard.
Yeah.
In case you were wondering, we're on a Zoom call right now, and that puts JT in a little box on our laptop right in front of us.
Exactly. He's here double. But we also have other guests here. We have Connor here with us, and we're very excited to talk to Connor today about all the things. Before we get into our interview and our discussion on all things paranormal, we do have a few quick announcements for y'all. First off, we want to thank Parajunkie Trisha Cullen, who is here on the live stream right now. So thank you so much, Trisha, for your very generous tip for our Ghosts Fund. If you're not familiar with Ghosts, basically that is our project that we want to have up and running by the end of this year. We're going to get an RV, we're going to wrap it, and we're going to take said RV to all haunted locations that we can get to via RV. So that is what we're working towards. Obviously, RVs cost quite a bit of money, so we definitely appreciate all the help that we get. The best way you can support us is through Patreon. You can become a Parajunkie, join the community, do all those fun things. But we have another new way that you could support us. If you are not familiar, I have a little side business that I call Country Witch Co. It is a spell jar jewelry business where I make all sorts of pieces with various metaphysical intentions using different blends of herbs and crystals and now shells and stuff like that. And I have made for all of us a lovely ghost edition of spell jar earrings. These are going to have grounding abilities. They're going to have protection along with it and also be really freaking cute. So you can buy a pair of these bad boys on our website, which is hauntedcitypodcast.com. And 100% of the proceeds goes to the Ghost Fund, so that way we can get to all those haunted locations and investigate them for y'all. But we are going to be sending a pair of the earrings to Trisha for her generous donation, and then we are also going to raffle off a necklace for one of our very lucky Ultra Parajunkies. So with that, Chris, I have their names here in this cauldron. If you would like to pull a name.
Stir the cauldron, and I'll pull a name. And right here. I'll hand it off.
All right. Melissa Ducate.
Woo!
Melissa, you're
Normally, we don't hear the sound effects because
was
we're not wearing
assaulting.
headphones. That was literally like a crowd just shouting into my ears.
So, Melissa, Raffle Queen, do send us your shipping address and we will get this lovely necklace to you.
I have it.
Okay, perfect. JT has it already, so you'll be
That's not creepy at all.
You'll be receiving.
It's an Ultra Parajunkie thing.
Yes. But other than that, y'all, May is a really exciting month for us here on this show because we have two heavy hitters in the paranormal field with us, so Connor being one of them. But we are also going to have Colin Browen, who is from the Paranormal Files, on the show on May 28th. So that is going to be a super exciting episode. We all really enjoy his content, and I am sure plenty of you who listen also enjoy his content. And we're going to be going live for that at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on May 28th. And that is going to be an exclusive live stream just for the Parajunkies. So
yes,
if you would like to join us, definitely consider becoming a Parajunkie. But that is enough blathering about different announcements. Colin, or excuse me, Connor. I knew this was going to happen. Too many CBs on my list. Connor, hello.
Hi, I get that all the time. That's okay.
Anywho, I'm so sorry about that. But thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I really appreciate being here with you guys too. I'm excited to talk with you guys today.
Yeah, we're so excited. When Chris said that you'd be interested in being on the show, we were thrilled to hear that because I am so fascinated by this app that you made. And
Thank you.
we'll talk more about that, y'all. Don't worry. But you and Chris actually have gone on an investigation together, right?
Yeah, actually, I interviewed Chris many years ago at the Savannah Theater. That's
Yeah.
how I met Chris.
Super
So,
cool.
Yeah, and I was explaining that that was the first time I participated in the Estes Method, which was
oh wow.
it's such a cool thing because you had your partner on the stage and we were up in the balcony, and that level of distance between the questions and the responses was really cool to like be a part of because
Yeah.
we don't always have that luxury. We don't have the luxury to get a lot of space between the questions being asked and the person doing the responding. Especially if you're not filming, if you don't have a camera on both of you, you're not going to hear what the other person's saying.
Right, exactly. And it's one of my most favorite methods to ever do in the paranormal field because I feel like it is the most likely to be getting like actual spirit responses when you're talking to spirits because that person can't hear the questions you're asking. And I've had some really insane conversations with spirits doing the Estes method.
Yeah, well, that is probably at the top of our tool list. The Estes method is something that we do at every investigation. We even have a version of it that we call the estrogen Estes method, where only women are allowed to participate, and the men folk go outside. And and that was mostly because at Waverly Hills we had such a profound response when it was women asking questions and a woman listening.
Wow. Waverly Hills is one of my favorite places to go to as well.
Yeah. It's such a cool place. I mean, it's a weird energy though, because it feels scarier than it actually is, you know?
Right. The building itself has a lot of like, well, this is a very scary building, but the sensations are different than the appearance. It's like a big scary dog that likes to cuddle.
Yeah, I think it doesn't help that there's like no windows, and then at night you get the moonlight shining in, so it just adds an even more creepier vibe to it. But
Exactly.
Yes.
Abandoned too. It has that
yeah,
real sense of there used to be life here and now there just isn't.
It's so
yeah. And
true.
if you've seen the pictures of some of the patients that were there, that in the giant hallways that you walk down on the tour, it's definitely more ominous looking at that. Like, wow, there was life here, like you're saying.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And now there's just Tim.
Tim. We'd love to just kind of dive into like a brief overview of how you got started and what the trajectory of your career in the paranormal actually is. So give us the Connor Biddle story.
The Connor Biddle story. So, my family has also used to have paranormal experiences when they were young too. So, like, this all was involved in my entire family. I didn't know about this until I was like in high school, and I grew up in a house, an old Victorian house in Goshen, Indiana. The street was actually named after the man who built and lived in this house that I grew up in, and one night, I was always scared growing up of the dark, which is funny to say now. And my brother and I shared a room, and I couldn't sleep with the door shut. The lights in the hallway had to stay on until I fell asleep at night until my parents came up to go to bed. And I remember laying there one night, and my bed is, let's just say, this room, my bed's directly across from my brother, and I could lay in my bed and see him, and he's already knocked out for the night sleeping. And I'm laying there trying to sleep, and above my head, there's this door, walk-in closet door that we only use for like storing blankets and stuff like that. And it has a way where you can walk in through to my parents' room, and we always kept the door shut. And I'm laying there, and as I'm looking at my brother, I see this white anomaly, what people call orbs in the paranormal, fly above my head, and it kind of it's like ping pong ball size, and it flies above my head and goes over to my on the other side of the room underneath my brother's bed. And I got so scared because it made no noise, no sound, And I'm a little kid at this point, I'm scared of the dark. And I scream, I run downstairs and I go tell my parents, and they come up and they look underneath the bed. There's nothing underneath the bed. There's no explanation for it. We had no animals at the time. So at that time, I was like, never really understood what that was. I told my grandma about it. My grandma used to tell me like it was just angels playing. But I think they already knew exactly what it was, because what's crazy is across the street from that house is where my great grandparents grew up, and they had insane paranormal activity. I wrote about it in a book that I wrote. Hearing footsteps walk outside the house. My grandma saw people in the house, like walking, staying at the end of her bed. So like that whole street alone is just, there's something weird going on. So that got me into the paranormal. And then when I was in high school, funny enough, we just talked about Waverly Hills. My first actual haunted place I went to was Waverly Hills Sanatorium. And on the second floor, my friends and I were kind of like rowdy people. So I thought I got picked out of the crowd with a laser pointer. They told me to go walk down in the hallway, this creepy hallway. It's like this, like I was describing, the moonlight casting in, and you can't see anything, only like 10 feet in front of you. And she tells me and this guy with this ball cap, walked down this hallway. And I'm like, okay, so we're walking down this hallway and I'm talking to this dude. I can't see his face. I just know he's wearing plaid and he's got a ball cap. Can't see his facial features. And I whisper to him like, man, this is really creepy. And he just nods and just says, yes, or yeah, it is, or something along those lines. And as I get down in this hallway, you can't see anybody behind me anymore. The group's gone. And I turn around. She says, okay, that's as far as you can go. Turn around. And nobody's there. And I'm looking around for this guy, and this guy is not there. And I'm like, where the heck did this guy go? Like, I thought maybe he was somebody who broke off from me, went into one of the rooms to hide or go whatever. I go back to the group and I'm like, hey, what happened to this guy? And they're like, you went down there by yourself. So I literally talked to a ghost
Oh,
at Waverly Hills
wow.
Sanatorium. I was a solid figure. I got EVPs there at the time. So like it really trajectory my career in the paranormal. And then in 2000, that was in 2010. In 2011, I was working at this pizza place, and my friends that I was working with always made fun of me and said that the attic was haunted and there's ghosts up there. So I bought a cheap little Vivitar night vision camera for like $30. It was like 360p. It was horrible quality.
Well, that's how you hunt for ghosts, with
Yeah.
with the
it's
worst
like with the
equipment
fancy-
possible.
Yeah, it's like what they film UFO videos with. I left the camera up there rolling, brand new batteries in this thing, never used it really before. And I go back to get the camera, and the camera's dead. I go home that night to look it over, and I literally caught an apparition of a spirit come out of this doorway. You can see his legs walk across. It was literally the craziest thing I've ever caught in the paranormal. And at that moment, I knew I wanted to do something for video wise and try to capture stuff, because I felt like this is so strange. All this stuff is happening, and I'm just going to places, and it feels like I'm meant to have these experiences. And in 2012, I went and shot a documentary. Had no idea what I was doing video editing wise, no camera experience, no ghost hunting experience really. And I hired this guy to film this documentary with me. And we went to travel to Maxwell, Iowa, to a school called Farrar Elementary. And I went there, and I wasn't really trying to capture paranormal because, yeah, I did capture the apparition, but I wasn't so much of a believer because I wasn't really firsthand witnessing it. Yes, I talked to a ghost and things like that, but, I just disregarded it. But when I was at that school, I caught so much stuff like voices and things whispering to me. I've been told F off, F you through the spirit box, all kinds of stuff like that. It was wild. And at that point, I just continued on, decided I needed to do a show called Paranormal Encounters, experiencing my paranormal experiences, my paranormal encounters, and document everything that I experienced going to places. So I always have this rule of thumb that no matter what I do or where I go, I'm always going to be recording. And I learned that lesson in 2014 because I saw my first actual ghost at Edinburgh Manor.
Oh, wow.
I saw a little girl run across the doorway of a hallway, and at that moment, I knew for sure that the paranormal is real. It's 100% real. It's not just your figment of your imagination. I actually saw a little girl at this place where there's no little girls in the middle of nowhere of Iowa.
Right.
If you've been to Iowa, there's literally nothing there. So
That's
That's amazing.
phenomenal.
And so, for our listeners, what is your handle, your YouTube?
Yeah. Paranormal Encounters.
Paranormal Encounters.
That's Paranormal Encounters. Yeah.
Look it up. There are countless episodes available, and
Yeah.
amazing evidence, and just a really good approach to level-headed
Thank
paranormal
you.
investigation. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the best parts about it is it's not contrived. which is something that has really bogged down the field of paranormal investigation, is the contrivances of persona and personality, and it kind of overshadows the investigation or just the idea behind what people are trying to achieve. And I've always noted that you kind of sidestep that. You also mentioned your book.
Yes, 4 books I wrote. Yes.
Fantastic.
Plug away, my friend. Plug away. Tell us about your books.
My first 3 books they're titled, they're a series. It's called Life with Paranormal Encounters. It's about how I got into the paranormal. The second chapter is My Family's Haunted. Talks about all that stuff I just mentioned ago, about how my family got involved in the paranormal, what their experiences were at that house. My experiences more in detail, and a little bit behind the scenes, because some people just don't see everything that happens, and a lot of stuff doesn't get captured because it's off camera. I'm not recording, it happens when you least expect it. My 4th book is just a fictional horror book I've always wanted to write, called The Haunting of Moonlight Mansion. Take some experiences that I've really had in the paranormal and some favorite movies, and I've put them together and made a little spooky story.
Fantastic.
That's sick. I love it.
Yeah. So I am a man of trying to do everything.
There's no reason not to.
It's true.
Absolutely not. And it's interesting because I think that people do get this sort of 2 camps idea where you're like, oh, well, if you're an investigator, then it's all serious and it's all, backed up with facts, and there's no room for legend and lore and, folklore and things like that. It's like, well, no, you have to honor ghost stories. You have to honor why people tell ghost stories. It's not always about this is the truth of what happens, but it is the examination of what could happen and what might happen, and how do we deal with it, in our fearfulness. Do we face these things with our fears? I know I'll tell a scary story, and we'll have an opportunity to deal with fear in a safe environment, in a safe place. Yeah. So I love that you've got your 3 nonfiction and 1 fiction books. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So not only are you an author and an investigator, like I mentioned at the top of the show, you are now an app developer and also ghost hunting tinkerer, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just a jack of all trades in the paranormal, I guess. I think about something, I'm like, what, that sounds kind of cool. Let's do that. Because my next thing I want to do is a comic book. And I'm like, I can't draw. It'd be stick figures. So I definitely want to just hit all the aspects. But yes, I guess you can call me an app developer now.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah. Tell us about your app.
The app is called Ghost Chatter. So I was inspired for this app because I do my show on YouTube by myself. I'm solo. So there's some things we just talked about called the Estes Method. I can't do that by myself. There's no equipment. They make all kinds of fancy equipment where like you got lights lighting up, and they just they're all the same essentially to me. And I was like, the apps have a bad rep for what they use. Because a lot of people use them to drive their narrative on YouTube or ghost hunting or what have you. But I wanted to have one that was actually authentic, where it can't be manipulated. It can't be chosen by whatever narrative the person that's using it wants to create. So I created an app that allows you to do the Estes session alone, and it's called Ghost Chatter. It will ask questions for you. It has intervals where you can set like 60 seconds, low as 30 seconds or what have you. It will ask questions for you. And there's also another mode in there called isolation mode, where my friends, Paranormal Quest on YouTube, they do a thing called abandonment, where they leave cameras rolling in places alone. Nobody's in the building, and they try to see if spirits can interact with their equipment or make sounds. I also have that mode as well in the app, where it will also ask questions to provoke, where you can get them to interact with your equipment and get spirit responses or what have you. It also has EVP mode, where it records on your phone's microphone for potential spirit responses, because my first ever EVPs at Waverly Hills Sanatorium was on my phone because I had no equipment. It was on my voice memo, and those were really insane spirit responses. So I built that app to help be a tool for anyone who's a solo paranormal investigator or someone who wants to take a different approach to using the Estes Method, or leave cameras rolling and have another tool that can help provoke spirit responses.
Cool.
No, that's fantastic.
It really is.
And anybody who's done the Estes Method as the person asking questions knows that actually coming up with questions is tedious and can be like like I gotta think of something that what's your face like? You just find yourself really put on the spot because there's a general progression of questions that make sense, but after a while you're like, I'm running out of questions.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if I just had a cheat sheet of questions, I would be happy. But now that this app actually generates them and kind of randomly puts them out there, which gives you this kind of well-rounded experience, and being able to isolate one of your team members and say, okay, you're going to be in this room alone with this app, and you're going to do the Estes method alone, because that too brings about a whole different level of interaction, because it's that classic, the nature being observed changes the thing being observed. So if you take out the extra people, is there a more direct line? Is there a more direct type of communication? And that's worth examining. We look forward
Absolutely.
to giving tries to your app in different variables of investigation.
Yeah, we all downloaded it earlier, and Parajunkies downloaded it. Like Alex, she says she downloaded it. I downloaded it. Yeah. And it honestly, the first ghost app that I don't hate.
Yeah.
like I cannot stand these ghost apps that are like death and stuff. But yours is actually like a tool. And
Right.
I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, you guys. I wanted to do something because I'm building an audience on YouTube where I don't dive into that demon crap that a lot of YouTubers do. I don't overreact. And I've wanted to build an app where it's authentic, because I've been trying to build an authentic audience where they look for authentic paranormal evidence, don't expect things to happen all the time. And I wanted them to have an app where they know that they can trust it because they know I won't do that to them.
Yeah.
And something that people can actually use, because like you said, I honestly hate the other apps that just spit out words, because people can drive a narrative. Like some people I've seen recently are doing that, going to residential houses and using the app as their evidence for someone's home who's haunted. And I feel like it's disrespectful in a way.
No, it
But,
is. It is. Absolutely.
this app, like Chris was just saying, it has so much potential, because I never thought about that, I guess, actually, that it could change a little bit about how the paranormal is when you're isolated, when you're doing the SS session, because who's ever done the SS session alone besides recording it on a voice recorder? And some people
Right.
are like, well, I could just do that with a voice recorder, but I wanted to take that out because that's so biased, and that leaves so much room for fakery. My app has a 30-70 ratio in it. So basically what that means is, if you can add in your own custom questions, but it won't ask questions all in the same row. They're all randomized. So when you add in your own questions, it's a 30-70 ratio. So 30% of the time it's going to ask your custom questions. So it keeps it random, so you never know what's going to get asked. And it
Cool.
gets rid of the room for anyone who could fake the evidence or so when they're out there investigating.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's such a clear thing, because we also talk about the fact that there are people who are just gifted at listening, at being on the receiving end. They hear clearer or deeper into the spirit box. They're just able to pick out things better. There are people who will sit there for 15 minutes straight and not hear anything because they're not attuned to it. But when you have different people in the same environment, in the same area, that can be a drain on your ability to concentrate and your ability, because even if you're blindfolded, even if you have that, the mere presence of other people is a drain on your energy. Because we are sensitive that way, and people don't realize how sensitive the human body is to even proximity. If you're just around something, that's the same sensation that people get when they walk into a scary place or a haunted place, and they suddenly feel, oh, this is different. I feel that. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? You'd feel that way if somebody walked into a room. Think about how many times we acknowledge that people are in the room, but it's not because we saw them or we know them. We just sense that there's another body in the room. Yeah. So I think isolating a person with this equipment would make it much more pointed at the listener.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think too, it does open that channel for people who want to investigate but don't have a team as
Oh,
well.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, especially in Savannah, people come here all the time and they're like, I want to go ghost hunting, but I don't have any equipment. I don't know anybody.
We sell
yeah.
Estes Method equipment in the museum, in the gift shop, and people have been like, "Hey, can we like schedule an Estes Method?" And I was like, "No, we'd love to, absolutely. We just don't really have the time set up for that." And it's kind of that interesting thing where it's like people who want to learn about the Estes Method, who want to practice it, because it takes practice. That's another thing. It's not a pick up and go thing. And a lot of people think they're going to put the headphones on, they're instantly going to make connections, they're instantly going to know what to do or even what to look for. Like it took me a long time to start hearing a voice that wasn't just snippets of DJs and snippets of that there is that staticky, strange strain of voice that kind of comes through under the transmission. And it's like almost a white noise voice. And it's like, oh, is that what I'm supposed to be listening to? Because sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a very clear, piping up of just passing through. And it's like, oh, that seems like a random happenstance. But when you start getting a singular voice that lasts through channels and channels, and you're like, well, we haven't made it all the way through all of these channels to be hearing that same voice again. And you start to realize, oh, I'm not listening to just chatter. I'm trying to hear something beyond it or beneath it.
Yeah, exactly. It does take a long time. I know I'm not very good at it because I haven't really done the SS session too much. I'm more of the person who is the conjurer. But I'm definitely I've been using a lot more now since I have this app, which makes it a lot more fun actually. It's never been more fun to do the SS session because there's only one camera I have to edit on when I do the editing, because I'm like, cool, there's only one microphone, it's just me. So
no, that's fantastic. And again, it's hard to imagine practicing these kinds of things alone. But now that you have a tool to do it, at the very least, you'll have a better understanding of how to communicate what these tools are.
Yeah,
I completely agree. And I think you're right. It's a good practice tool for honing in that ability. Because that's the other side of the Estes Method, is that it can be a little bit anxiety inducing for people because they're like, I'm not hearing anything. And the person who went before me was hearing everything, and they get stressed out about it.
There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So I think
performance anxiety.
Exactly. So I think, being able to sit in a room by yourself and just have no pressure at all. You don't have to release the video or anything. Like, I think that's great. Have you used it recently in any investigations?
I was supposed to film tonight, but they got pushed out, so I would have been using it tonight. But I have used it in investigation. I just went to a place called the State House about a month ago or so. It's in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I did use it. And I want to say it was probably a 15, 20-minute session or so I did. And it was actually kind of strange because when I was going back and watching it, and I'm like, man, some of these aren't really adding up, because I was like, darn, like first impression for the app, I get it because it's not going to happen all the time. But there was one question that came through that this app asked, and it said, what do you think about the afterlife? And moments later, I literally answered that question. I said, I don't like it. And I was like, that's kind of strange.
That is strange.
Like, coincidence, or is it because somebody doesn't like it because they can't connect with their loved ones, what have you? So I always thought it was kind of strange. I still think about it, even though that was a month and a half ago or so. But I'm like, that's just weird, because I'm trying to figure out, why would he not like that?
We have a couple of psychics that will come by and help us out, both at the museum and on the podcast. And one of the most interesting things is, as a duo, one person is doing a lot of the receiving and the other person is doing a lot of the, wait, I think that is actually an answer to 2 questions ago or 3 questions ago. Something to keep in mind is if you get a question spoken aloud and then 3 or 4 questions later, you say something that refers to that question, you really have to pay attention, because you might be answering questions. It just might take a long time for a spirit to generate the energy or the wherewithal to answer a question. So that's one of the things about the Estes method too, is you may not be dealing with direct answers and direct questions. You may not have the luxury of call and response. It might be call, 3 questions later, response, and then you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense with this question, but it might make sense to another question.
Right. Right. It's like a skill. It just takes practice, The first time is going to be kind of rough, but as you keep practicing, if you want to practice Ghost Chatter, you can now. And it's a skill you hone on, and you just get better over time with it.
Yeah, we're really excited to dive into Ghost Chatter, and that is the app's name, Ghost Chatter. You can find it on the App Store, and I've been toying around with it, playing with it, and it has a lot of promise. It really does.
So
yeah,
Connor, you're from Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, cool. Is that where you live currently?
Yes.
Okay, dope. When we eventually get into Michigan with ghosts and everything, what would you recommend? What place would you recommend we go first? Like haunted spot?
Skip Eloise. I haven't been there, but it's just everybody goes there. There are some hidden gems. There's one called the Stimson Hospital in Eaton Rapids.
Ooh.
Extremely spooky. All the people who started this hospital died in this hospital.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty ominous. There are over 5,000 people were born and died in this hospital. And it's I shouldn't say small, it's like a Victorian-sized house. One of the stories is one of the doctors on the top 3rd floor fell like through the elevator shaft. He didn't know the elevator shaft was in maintenance mode. Fell right through it and straight down to the basement, face first, and died right next to the morgue where the other doctor's working on a body.
Wow.
Really spooky stories there, but it's definitely spooky. They have a doll there called a Adia, who they claim is a demon doll. And I'm not going to be someone who's I'm not really superstitious, like Ouija boards and all that stuff like that. But like I had some really weird stuff happen. If you don't leave an offering when you talk to her, you have night terrors and just really weird stuff. Well, first time I talked to her, I didn't really leave her any offering. And when I did leave her an offering, I left her a penny because that's all I had in my pocket at the time. And I had night terrors for 2 weeks straight where I was having bad, weird dreams. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just because he talks about this. But then my partner was having nightmares too. And I'm like, this is kind of strange. So I don't know. But it's a really spooky place. You guys definitely got to check out the Stimson Hospital in Eaton Rapids.
Stimson. Oh, yeah. I got it written down already. Maybe we can do an investigation together.
Yeah. Make sure you leave an offering.
Oh, yeah. No, we'll bring all the offerings.
Yeah, maybe we can do an investigation together. Because it seems like you investigate similar to how we investigate, which is all real and a lot of dead time.
Yes, unfortunately dead time, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ghosts aren't on the payroll. That's what we like to say. Yeah. It's, and that's how you, in my opinion, that's how you show actual evidence is by behaving in that way, because you try to provoke spirits out. You're not going to get a genuine reaction, if anything.
They're not circus animals. And a lot of people see that they are to them because they see some other YouTube channels, whatever, like get stuff like every 5 seconds, or they have this, they have that, but it's all like fake. It doesn't work that way. I've been to places plenty of times where I've driven 10 hours and I've gotten nothing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The story is rich. So the story is worth showing because it's like, like we talked about in the very beginning, ghost stories. Ghost stories is why I got into the paranormal, including my experiences, because ghost stories are just so fascinating to hear, and people want to hear that. People that really love the paranormal don't care about if you get something or not. They want to hear the ghost stories about these places. They're fascinating.
Right, exactly, and that's something that does definitely get overlooked because we generally steer away from actually saying ghost hunt because hunt has weird connotations. It also suggests like capture or we're gonna kill the ghost and mount it on the wall or something. But the ultimate concept is it's more of an experience hunt. You're trying to have an experience that doesn't require seeing an apparition or having something happen to you. What the experience is kind of following in the lore and making sense of why people have these sensations, why they feel this way, and why they're compelled to tell these stories. True or not, people's desire to examine these dark and scary things, that's essential to the human experience. So, why would we have to consistently, provide scratches on the arm or, weird voices in the dark when we could be always saying, well, this is what scares us. This is what scares us is we don't know. We don't know what's next. We don't know what's coming. We don't understand. And every now and then it seeps into our real world in these stained buildings and these weird places.
Yeah. And my biggest thing too is there's no disrespect when I say this, but there's so many people that are so caught up that they spend so much time trying to prove the paranormal that we live in a society today in a time where you can't even prove the paranormal if you try, because there's so many realistic looking UFO videos and what have you, chairs moving that you can't tell if it's CGI, if it's real or not, that I don't look at the paranormal anymore like I used to. It's like, I got to prove it. Who am I proving it to? Myself or somebody else? It's not
Right.
about that. It's about the experience, about experiencing the paranormal, not proving it.
Well, yeah, I definitely feel that the current trend that dominates comes from people who need validation for their experience. And the only way they can imagine validation is to get other people to believe. And it's like, that's never going to be a good model for investigation. Like, your desperation to have someone else see what you see is not the best approach, because it generally is, they had something they couldn't explain, and if they can't make someone else believe it, they feel like it was invalid somehow, or that it can't be, a real thing. Or the classic is, how many times do you hear it? You're going to think I'm crazy. People literally start their ghost story with, okay, this is going to sound crazy, or you're going to think I'm crazy. And that's what happened. We got a lot of people who are so afraid of being called crazy that they go to really crazy lengths to try to convince people that, these experiences are legitimate, and that what they feel and what they sense and what they've seen is legitimate. And it's like, well, you've gone too far. You've traveled so far away from the path where you were trying to, enlighten people, and now you're kind of selling things. You're selling a narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
So where is so I know you said that you had some of your more profound experiences at places like Waverly Hills, but if you had to rank some of your favorite investigations, where would they be?
So there's a lot, but what I can tell you is that I've only seen two ghosts in my entire life. So number one would probably be Thorn Hall in Canyon City, Colorado. I was filming at this old boys' school place, and I saw a face, and it was like literally the most terrifying thing ever because I saw it in night vision.
Oof.
Oh God.
No.
That's terrifying.
The green light at my LCD screen flipped around, so it was like illuminating green, and it was behind somebody else's shoulder. And I literally thought my soul left my body that day, literally, because that was the scariest thing ever. Because it's like I'm in this little maze, this little Halloween, like makeshift Halloween haunted whatever place, and I'm like, I swear to you guys too, it's not even one of the props. There was literally nothing behind this person that was standing there. And I was like in this little tunnel where I couldn't get up and run. So instead I got up and ran towards that person. I don't know why. And I fell over a shelf. So like, that's probably my actual scariest place. Okay. That's my number one. But that's a tough one just because some of the experiences from Waverly Hills and stuff do top that. But I don't know. There's so many places I've been to. I can't think of them top off my head right now.
That's totally fair.
That's all right. Yeah. Were you recording when you got that on?
I was, yes, but I wasn't filming the camera up high enough. And I'm like, because they were filming me, and I was filming down, like holding the camera down, so I'm crouching down, going in this little tunnel, and I pull the camera up, and some people in my audience were like, yeah, I see a face. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, no, I don't see a face. You know what I mean? But it's like, if I caught a face actually do that, still people say it's not real, but that would probably be something I would not want to keep watching while I'm editing, because it was already terrifying enough to even see what I saw. So for the longest time, I was so scared to even be in the night vision in the dark with nothing around me but my phone, my little screen of my camera. And I'm like, I don't know if I see this thing. And I went to Crescent Sanatorium not long after that. That is another terrifying place in Pennsylvania. And I saw it again, and I thought for the longest time I was being followed around. But then, I had dismissed in my mind, like, no, I'm just seeing stuff. I'm freaking out about from the last experience because that was so fresh from when I went there. It was like literally the next experience right after that was when I saw that face there at Crescent too.
Wow.
But I had for the longest time, I had something follow me around too. For about a year or so, where it would come through on some of the equipment and just say things that this location shouldn't know about, but this location hundreds of miles away, I experienced that. So, yeah,
That's
that's terrifying.
That is terrifying. That's also how you know you've been on enough investigations is when you get an attachment that comes through in your session.
It is an interesting phenomenon. We've had different people. Dalen actually from Ghost Brothers has a specific spirit that he continually has come through when he does communications, and I think it is. The more you do, the more a pathway to you, and the more likely an attachment's like, oh, that person is attempting to communicate or attempting, and you become very desirable to a spirit who is hopefully, benign enough, but
Yes.
looking for connection, looking for something that makes their existence meaningful. And so I've heard that from many investigators that there is a spirit that at some point hitched a ride with them, and sometimes it lasts only a year or two, and sometimes it lasts the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I got one from Helen's Bridge.
Oh, right. Jump.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Ugh, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's
Not the friendliest of.
no. Well, and how I know that it's coming through in the session is it's a very specific whistle that was incessant during the Estes Method at Helen's Bridge, and it would just continue. And that one was very aggressive because it was like, jump, you should do it. And I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. Dalen's is nice though.
Yeah, Dalen's is nice.
Yeah.
Walter?
Yeah, that girl's one of
like
his
that.
best friend in the afterlife, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you guys are gonna think I'm crazy. No, I'm just kidding. I know we just talked about that a minute ago. I have been actually experiencing stuff in this house. And this house is a new build. And I'm not just the only one because when I'm laying in bed at night, my bedroom door is kind of cracked, and I keep seeing a black figure over here to
Oh,
my right, and standing over by my office. And I dismiss it because I'm like, no, that's just something. I just keep pawning off, but I keep seeing it. And then my partner has actually seen something in this house because the other night we're getting ready to leave, and I haven't done any ghost hunting in over a month or so right now, which is kind of strange. But I've been working on this app. No idea if it has anything correlations or what have you, but we're getting ready to leave somewhere, and I'm still in the bedroom, and she asks if I walk by this hallway area that we have in this house. I'm like, no, she literally sees me come out of our bedroom, and she sees this person walk by the doorway in front of her, and it was just like this black shadowy figure, solid figure, whatever, walk by, and it freaked her out. And then my kid has also seen stuff in this house as well too, has seen a blue dress figure thing or whatever by her closet. I don't really know. She's just seen some kind of fabric or whatever, something. And when she looks at it, it's gone instantly, and she doesn't really see what it is. But
Wow.
I've had some stuff happen here, and I don't know if it's because of the places I've gone to, some of my experiences, or just working on this app and trying to obviously find a way to communicate with spirits more so.
Well, yeah, we talk about how the search for the paranormal is kind of like pushing on a door in your mind. And the more you do it, the more that door opens. And the more open your door is, the more likely something's going to come through. And it's interesting because there's a whole slew of people who listen to the podcast or listen to other podcasts of the same nature. And after listening for a while, they start to have these experiences in their homes and having these experiences. And it's like, well, I think it's because your mind is opening, because you're listening to these stories, you're entertaining the idea, and the spirits are aware that you are receptive, that you might be receptive, which is why I do not hate any of the apps, because I think those apps do serve that same purpose. Even the ridiculous and over the top and obviously fake ones, they do put people in the frame of mind to be open and to be at the door at the very least. And so it's always interesting when somebody's like, I started noticing this, and especially in the case of you slowed down your investigations and now it's kind of ramping up in your home. It's like,
Yeah.
They may have been using the investigations to be like, oh, it's time to talk. It's time to talk to him. And it's like, well, he's just sitting here looking at his phone.
Yeah, they're just like, come on, dude, get up. Let's go talk.
Come on,
Like-
come on.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy to think about. It's like, are they watching me while I shower or something, you know? Or
I
like,
possibility.
I guarantee you, everyone who's listening, ghosts watch you shower. That's you just have to be aware of that. And you know, no matter what, there's a ghost watching you shower.
That's also coming from Chris's hyper fear.
Oh yeah,
of,
I am so
Being watched
phobic.
while showering.
Yes, that is why I wear a 3-piece suit every time I shower.
Yeah, I mean, the thought that you brought up of, you know, you're working on this app, that could be putting out just, you know, a signal of sorts of
absolutely.
spirits in the general region being like, oh, somebody likes to talk to ghosts. So
yeah.
it very well could just be transient energy like that, especially because you said it's a new build, and that doesn't mean it's not haunted, but
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit less likely.
People are
Yeah.
more
Although-
likely to be haunted than houses,
People
right?
are more
Chris?
likely to be haunted
Yeah.
than houses. Absolutely.
It's not
And
haunted.
there's enough traditional folklore dependent on your culture that believe that new houses do draw, you know, spirits. That the new is kind of the, oh, well, there's going to be excitement. There's going to be a new life there. There's going to be all this new energy there. And so spirits kind of rush in. There's a gypsy tradition of not living in the house for a year. So their houses would be empty for a year so that the ghosts would get bored. So the ghosts would be like, you know, they're hoping for new lives, you know, babies being born, all this, you know, great stuff. And they're just sitting in this empty house going, oh, no, this sucks. These people are boring. And then they leave, and then you can move in.
Dark Fiery Guy commented and said, I can contest to that. I have a lot more experiences since listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
You're
That's
welcome.
crazy.
Or sorry, you know, it's there's equalness to it. I apologize if it's keeping you up at night, but you're
true.
welcome if you're digging it.
That's true.
And Two Girls, One Ghost always say
yeah, they
that
always say
they're
that,
a
yeah.
super haunted podcast.
Right.
When they were on our show like years ago, they told us that, and that was like the first time I actually thought about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, again, you know, spirits don't want to waste their energy on people who are closed off. And so you hear all the time people who are like, well, I'm a blocker. Well, I don't have any supernatural things happen. It's like, it's because the ghosts more than likely don't want to waste their energy trying to get the attention of someone who's not open, who's not going to respond, who's not going to reciprocate. And so,
Right.
you know, the more open you are to these energies, the more likely they are to attempt to get that reciprocal relationship. Of course, when you say reciprocal relationship with a spirit, it gets dangerous because it's like, well, what are they getting in return? Is it your energy? Is it your life's energy? Can it drain you, like, you know, fatigue you mentally and emotionally? It's possible. There are people who definitely record that their encounters with spirits leave them drained. And so, so not all spirits are friendly. And while we have used the word demon occasionally, we usually don't mean demon in the biblical sense. It's just hard to categorize certain entities. So the word demon pops up, but we're not of the demon mindset. We're not, you know, trying to push that.
I mean, I kind of am, but
Well, you're a horror movie fan,
Yeah.
which clouds that definition even further, because demons are sexy in storytelling. You know, they're awesome. It's like, oh, you know what I need? I need a demon, because a demon will rip your face off, and you know that'll be great.
demons are sexy. Need merch of like Beelzebub.
Beelzebub.
The only demon I've ever encountered is having Taco Bell at night, late at night.
And that's a rough one, let me tell you.
Yeah. That one's unforgiving.
That's very true. Yeah. I was going to say, so obviously you like doing the Estes Method on your investigations. What's your plan when you go into an investigation of how you want to tackle the situation?
Good question. I think what I like to do is I like to go in and kind of feel like I guess you call it energy, the feelings of the area, and kind of get like a base reading of where I kind of want to start. So I kind of like just walk around with a camera, no equipment, just walk around filming it just in case something were to happen, and kind of get an idea of like, hey, is this room feeling a little unsettling in here? Like, is this where I'm going to start off at? And then what I like to do is I like to use this device called an epoch device, it's a yes or no device. I've had insane conversations with spirits with this device. Um, for example, we talked about demons just a second ago. Went to the Monroe House in Indiana, and it literally told me it hates it when people call this place demonic. And I had a full-on conversation with the spirit for 40 minutes, and I was like, I'm so mind blown right now. So like I like to do that as my go-to area if I find anything unsettling in a
What
room.
did you say it was?
The Monroe House.
Oh no,
the epoch device.
Epoch.
Oh, the epoch device. Yeah,
It's a yes no device, and there are a lot of varieties of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even use a coin. People oftentimes, so there's that's ultimately what a dowsing rod, general communication with a dowsing rod is yes no. And that is again. The easiest form of communication is usually the best form of communication to attempt with spirits, because you shouldn't tax them in order to get a response.
Yeah, I mean, like I said from the very beginning, I didn't have paranormal equipment. When I first started the paranormal, I had my phone and I used the voice recorder on there, and I captured EVPs that were so clear I thought somebody was messing with me. And like I had things whisper my name like so clear, and I was like, this guy is doing this. And he went up there with me just to prove it, and I had the same responses. Simple is the best way to go. You don't have to overcomplicate something with the paranormal as far as equipment goes.
Oh, absolutely. And it's also worth mentioning, not everyone's going to have that experience.
Right.
Some people just have more whatever it is, because I can't explain it, but there are plenty of people. There was an exercise we used to do in a ghost hunting community, which was pass the camera, where everybody would take a picture or hold the camera. And there would be one person who, when they took a picture, there would always be orbs or strange anomalies in it, but they were taking pictures one after the other, and only one person kept coming back. That person became the camera person, because it's like the spirits seem to want to show themselves to you. It doesn't have to do with the equipment. It doesn't have to do with anything else. It has to do with you. And that's one of those things. Don't get frustrated out there when you're looking for ghosts and nothing's happening, because sometimes it's a relationship, and sometimes you're just not the one that they want to communicate with.
Yeah. Yep.
If it were to happen all the time, it wouldn't be paranormal. If somebody tried to prove it, it wouldn't be paranormal. Paranormal is something that cannot be proven.
Right.
So like it's an experience that is it's like hitting the lottery in some places. The experience, like I mentioned earlier, when I caught the apparition, I'm like, oh my God, I hit the Holy Grail, and I didn't ghost hunt, yet. And like that's something I still have yet to ever experience. And then seeing that face I talked about, that was a crazy experience, because I never thought I was going to see another ghost ever. Still haven't seen a full body one since my first one, but they're just rare experiences. And that's why I was emphasizing earlier that people focus so much on proving versus just experiencing it. Just experience it. It's a thrill. When I say thrill, it's not like where you're over exaggerating something like that. It's like going on a roller coaster for the first time and going all the way up on this hill and going straight down. Like that's that rush you get every time you have an actual authentic experience when it comes to the paranormal. And that's the way I look at it. I always go to places with my mind clear, like, okay, I'm open-minded here. I always try to do like sort of a ritual where I try to be open-minded and try to be clear in my mind and leave all the other exterior stuff, like from problems or what have you from that day, outside that door when I walk in, and try to be open for the spirits to communicate. And I think that I've had a lot of luck experiencing paranormal doing that. If we're talking about rituals, about how I go into places and go about the paranormal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
And that's a fantastic way to go about it. And what you're describing is what we call ghost heroin, where it's
where the Parajunkies came from.
Yeah. Well, because Chris described it best, where it's exactly that. It's you get that little taste of it and you want to keep chasing that feeling, because it's exhilarating.
It drives you. Yeah. It absolutely does, because there's nothing quite like it. And if you can replicate it, which you kind of are always on the verge of it. When you're just standing in a cemetery at midnight, you're like, this is what it felt like the night that strange thing happened. This is what it was like. I'm in the neighborhood of the sensation, and that kind of it's an amazing thing. And then you have the story. I find that the value of a story outweighs the value of any evidence. Because again, like you said, evidence is so easily tampered. Evidence is so easily dismissed. Even the most, ardent of professionals ends up being doubted when when they present their evidence. And it's that quote is for those who for those who don't believe, no evidence will suffice. For those who do, no evidence is necessary. It's like that's kind of the realm we're in, where you don't have to prove to people who believe, and to people who don't believe, there's no way to prove. There's there's nothing you can do to convince them. They have to have their own experience, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fully 100% with that, because I get so many people that comment on my YouTube channel all the time, like, that can't happen or that's fake. I'm like, well, go there and experience it for yourself then, or try to experience something in the paranormal, because you won't say that anymore.
Right.
It's very true. But Connor, thank you so much for joining us today. I think we have gotten the wrap up cue, but we are so excited to watch what you do in the future and see how this app progresses. We're excited to use it. I'm sure we're going to use it in the very near future.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Madison, I just sent you the Q&A for the fix.
Perfect.
Because the Parajunkies sent in their questions for him.
Excellent. So Parajunkies and Connor's listeners from his Patreon, if you want to stick around for a little bit, we're going to do a Q&A after this, and that is going to be just for the Parajunkies and the Connor. What's your fan base called?
It's just paranormal encounters. I don't know.
Cool.
They're the encounterers.
The encounterers. The encounterers.
But all right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Go download Connor's app and have some fun investigating yourself. And with that, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And stay spooky, y'all.